Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Bigfoot's Barber Shop. I see you once again have found your way through the dense and foggy forest and into the fox den for this episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. We, as always, are going to be hunting the infamous Dogman. Yet please allow me to attend to something. Absolutely delicious. I love feeding and revamping and replenishing lost nutrients. And thank you again, Bigfoot's Barbershop, for releasing me from my shackles. And remember, you can't spell slaughter without laughter. It is once again time for the Midnight Society to take a walk into the darkness.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf. And everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night, yes, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. You have found your way into the stomping ground of the Midnight Society. Yes, as we sit by the fire tonight, we're going to figure out what the heck is consistently occurring with unknown sightings, unknown vocalizations, unknown tracks, and missing people. Our host tonight is, of course, Bigfoot's Barbershop, aka Brian Barber. How you doing, man?
We're doing good. We're ready to roll. We got some exciting things to talk about.
Yeah, excellent, man. It's always good to sit down. I know you've been a little bit banged up the last few weeks, so it's good to catch back up with you. What have you been up to, man? Anything in fun or anything specific?
Just recovering from a couple injuries, but we're on the mend now. If I could give a quick shout out to my friend who passed away, Julie Johnson. This is where the whole tonight's topic is stemming from, is from her memory. So I think it's going to be an exciting thing to undertake. We're going to do a bodybuilding show, which is not the whole topic for Midnight Lycanthropy, but it plays into it because I think there's a good experiment here to do, because of the fact that being on prescriptions, I can't do what they call a natural show. I can't do a tested show. I have to go untested, so there's other supplementation involved. Now, I've had a good relationship as far as Bigfooting. I've had, pretty consistent activity. But what happens, we know people have done experiments. We know people have put scent chips out for like gorillas and dogs. We know people use the doe pee, and things like that, right? So what happens, though, if you actually have a human who's altering his chemistry with supplementation? Hormones change, testosterone levels rise and fall. Also with that, estrogen levels, prolactin levels all rise and fall. So most animals work off the pheromones. We know primates do. We know canines do. Lift their legs on the hydrants, marking their own territory. So what happens if something familiar becomes unfamiliar?
Great questions right there, man. And I'm interested to hear this. And I do apologize about your friend. That's quite unfortunate. For sure, when we lose a friend, whether it's a human companion or an animal companion. So I'm right there with you. Oh, man. On a humorous note, dude, I don't even know how to word this because we live in a culture where everyone is offended all the time. But this is meant to be humorous, but with truth, okay? Man, to anyone out there that has never smelled one of those pheromone chips, dude. Oh my goodness. That is absolutely rotten as hell. And it's just straight up barf to the fullest fuel right there. Okay. And man, even smelling some of the male, female ones, those are absolutely atrocious. Okay. And all I can ever even remotely relate to that on a humorous note, man, is a time where I stepped into a strip club on my birthday, dude. And all right, so yeah, man, that smell, dude, is something that you can never really get away from. The smell of dirty human being, whether it's female or male. And now, because obviously apes and things, their cleanliness level is not to the extent of ours. So picture the smell of a dirty human being and times that by like 1,000.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I work at a gym, so you get the occasional person who doesn't think they need to use deodorant when in truth they definitely need the deodorant, and it lingers for hours just off that person. So I've never had one of those scent chips, but I used to my uncle used to hunt quite a bit and would use the doe pee. And it's like, that was just the most horrendous thing. I refused to ride in a car for 2 days after he went hunting or anything like that.
Yep, I can just right now, man. Oh, it's so brutal, dude. And honestly, that really makes me think now that as we're talking, people that are uncleanly, I wonder if there is no wondering actually. Just think how much further away they're going to be able to be smelled by a predator. And there's actually proof for this because the Romans spoke about when the Vikings and things were, and some of the Nordic tribal people were coming to battle with them, that they stunk so bad that they could literally smell them from miles away, and that it smelled like dirty butt cheeks and armpits and just like nasty people. And now, if you don't smell that on yourself and you just are accustomed with being a smelly individual. Now, when you're out in the forest, man, you're pretty much just really putting a target on your back, dude, because an animal can smell a cleanly person from quite a distance away. Now, if you're a stink bomb, dude, and also that's why I do encourage women just to be careful when they are on, that time frame, because that is actually documented as well that a lot of fatal attacks on women have been when they are on their monthly aspect, and bears and things smell that. So yeah, no, just people really should be careful in general and really make sure to mask your scent. And there's some humor in that was meant to get a point across, but straight up though, for real.
No, and I've heard the same thing, and even found, shall we say, women's hygiene products hanging in trees, and trail cams on them. So people do use them to try to lure, other, whether it's cryptids or, other predators, I don't know. I never talked to them, but it was definitely something I prefer not to see again.
Yeah, man, straight up, dude. And before we toss you the mic to dive into what you'd like to touch base on again, a humorous note a little bit, but all facts here too. One of my exes I used to date went to a university that was a really prominent one up here in Maine, UNE, University of New England, and a lot of really smart individuals that work with biology and all kinds of things come from that school, dude. So it's a really good school. But when I used to go up to her dorms and such, because I had met her through when I was modeling at Abercrombie and Fitch up here. And yeah, so, oh man, dude, there'd be times where because the dude bathroom was literally on like the other side, I had to go like outside and around all these buildings. It was freezing. So she's like, yeah, no way, hon. Just you're coming in here with me. And you'd walk in there, you'd be like, yo, dude, what the heck, man? I thought dudes were bad sometimes. This is a disaster in here. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. There's nothing like cleaning a women's locker room when you got about half the membership on the same cycle, we'll say.
Yeah, so it was just so funny, but more or less, again, the whole moral of that is just, yeah, no, being cleanly and putting yourself out in the forest is something you should do in general. But I mean, if you are planning on, being in remote areas, you should probably try to mask your scent as much as possible as too, and not really wear fragrances and such, because depending on what's in that. I mean, not so much now, but I know in some of the older fragrances, there was actually certain scents in there that were animal based and would actually supposedly irritate like predators and such. So, again, I mean, think, you smell somebody with crappy cologne, or, you're out at the nightclub and you're like, wow, this girl's good looking, and it smells like she's got the cheap, body spray or something like that. Moral of that is it's just like a ticket of, hey, dinner bell, because if we're finding different, smells to that, some people are like, oh, that's good. Others are like, oh, that's horrible. Well, I mean, animals have heightened senses of smell. So, even just your pet dog or cat, if they're in their room with you laying on the bed and you spray yourself with cologne or something, and you see their ears like perk right back, they're like, yo, get that out of here.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's what's going to make this interesting to see what happens when we start going out in the woods, and the only thing changing is what I'm eating. And because we've all been around somebody, certain people who enjoy garlic just oozes out of their pores, no matter what, especially when they start sweating in a gym. And,
Or
it's
too much
like
protein shakes, dude.
oh, yeah. A dozen
Where
eggs
you're
for
like,
breakfast.
yeah, man. Well, that's just what I'm saying. So, again, just take all this into consideration when you're walking around the woods, man, and you're just literally ringing off a dinner bell by letting out terrible stenches and etc. So it is something that really does come into play. But I'm gonna throw you the mic here. Yet before I let you start rolling away, man, I do find it humorous, and I'm okay with it, man, that people such as yourself, myself, and people that would like to spread the truth, we're always listed as the bad guys because we don't buy into all the hoaxes, man. We don't post all the fake stuff. So recently I've been, throwing a little toss up to Al Pacino and Scarface, say goodnight to the bad guy, because this is the last time you're going to see a bad guy like this. Because apparently, just because I'm trying to provide quality information, I'm the bad guy. So it is what it is, eh?
I've seen that pop up a couple times on different channels lately where people start getting really smeared and offended because somebody, told the truth instead of the narrative that everybody else is trying to spin.
Yeah, and I'm not about that stuff, man. So whether it's people invite me to groups where, you can't post your own work and it's just the narrative of the leader of the group, I don't join that, and I don't, post things and talk to people where they are questionable. So is what it is, and whatever, man. If people want to be upset by that, then you're in the wrong field, because journalism is about truth and such. So, but again, let's toss you the mic, man, and let's dance, bro.
So what I think is going to happen is I had a meeting. We talked about different ways I need to work on posing to hide injuries as far as bodybuilding, because symmetry is everything, conditioning, and then supplementation. So the we all know the animal kingdom. Testosterone has a certain smell to it. Estrogen, that time of the month, all that comes into play. So if you've got somebody and they even identify each other by smell. So, but what's going to happen if that being chemistry starts to change? Maybe the testosterone goes up. Does that mean we're going to get more aggressive, or somebody's going to think somebody else is trying to be dominant? At the same time, if testosterone goes up, you run a risk of estrogen going up as well, and prolactin. And I can tell you from experience that I know people that their prolactin went up, and next thing you know, their puppies are trying to nurse off them because they didn't take something to counteract that. So My goal is over the next year, as things change, is to see how my relationship changes as well. After 4 years, there's certain things you can control. What I wear, the fact that I don't wear the cologne and stuff like that. So it is all natural body, odor, chemistry, however you want to phrase it. So that won't be an issue. The other issue is a lot of times I'll take somebody with me. I think I'm going to have to eliminate that. I think I'll have to start going solo more. And I'll also have to start going more at night as well. Because we all know that's when everything's more active. Dogman or Bigfoot, it doesn't matter. So as these changes are happening, I want to try to figure out how to log it and be able to compare. Like, I've got 4 years worth of a baseline right now on how things have happened for me. So once this prep starts, which is next week, we're going to make sure we get out at least once a week. Try to have it around the same time because of the hunting that happens in that area. So I know for 3 or 4 weeks it's going to be shut right down. But, I can still get my scent out there again because I haven't been able to go too much this year due to injuries. So what we will do is go out, try to reestablish what little connection there was, and hopefully be able to get some responses. Obviously, with Bigfoot, Dogman, or whatever, there's nothing guaranteed on how things are going to go. But, after 4 years out there, you can kind of be able to tell when it's going to be a good day and when it's going to be a bad day. So the fact that I'll be changing not only physically, for the first 9 months or so, working on putting on a little more size, try to get around that 260, 270 mark again. Is the physical appearance going to alter things? Because maybe not to a 9-foot squatch and look intimidating, but, more the juveniles I'm thinking of that are 6 foot and under that are running around. Are they going to view things differently? And then once that peak's reached, right around August-ish, and I start crash dieting, all those hormone levels crash as well. Your test goes right in the tank. Estrogen does tend to climb, so you have to worry about that. And just other hormones as well. You start getting grumpy, you get depressed with the crash dieting. You know all that with your nutrition background, but for those who don't, dieting for a show is way different than dieting to try to lose 20 or 30 pounds. You're trying to get down to single-digit body fat. So will that change compared to a guy walking around at 270, 280, who's fairly happy, to a grumpy old man who's walking around trying to get down to that 230, 225 mark and just has no energy, is depressed and grumpy? So I'm going to go out there, try to get weekly, be out there weekly at least. And that's the hard part. I can't control what they're going to do, when they're going to show up, when they're not going to show up. The only thing I can do is control and log everything I do, including all the food I eat, because doing the bodybuilding show, that'll be consistent 7 days a week. There's no cheat meals in there. So that will be very good because, my body chemistry won't change because I had an oregano pizza that day before I went out and smelled like a barbecue or something the next day. So that will stay consistent. The other things that, the supplementation will change. The hormone levels I'll definitely be getting blood work once a month, because I do have a heart condition. So I have to be worried about my blood thickness and red blood cell count, hemoglobin, all the above. Have to worry about liver enzymes, and see if those rise and fall, what happens with interactions. See what I'm getting at? I don't think anybody's done this. Like I said, I think people have done scent chips. I don't think anybody's intentionally altered the body to see if it alters interactions with Bigfoot. So even though it's not my intent to alter my body just to interact with Bigfoot, I will be altering my body to do a show. So in effect, will that change how they interact with me?
Dang, man, that is some really gnarly stuff right there. And I'm not too sure if anyone's ever really tried to go out and amplify it like that. So you will definitely have to keep me more posted on how that unfolds, and obviously make sure to protect yourself. And yeah, when I used to act and model and I was going to shoots all the time, and man, I would not eat pretty much maybe almost the whole day, depending on how many girls were going to be there or what type of shoot it was, because I wanted to look like lit and such. So yeah, I'd eat like maybe a couple pretzels before the shoot because the sodium would pop out your abs, etc. But I don't eat like that now, man. I eat to be healthy, dude. I just eat like kale, spinach, rice, and such. I don't care about calories and such. I probably honestly don't eat enough, but when you eat like that, it's obviously expensive, and you can't always necessarily go overboard when you're on like a budget. But I eat a lot of the same stuff, but it's good for me, man. Meaning, like I said, I'll take a saute pan and I'll have like some chicken in there, or a turkey burger, or ground chicken. I'll put some turmeric, some kale, some spinach, some broccoli when I have it, zucchini when I have it, peppers when I have it, all those things. And I'll put them in there, and we'll saute them up, and I'll use olive oil, coconut oil, put some pepper on there, put a little bit of the salt that has the iodized in it that you need for nutrition, or I'll throw some like sriracha sauce up on there, etc. And I'll find myself eating that pretty much all the time, or until I go shopping again. But it's a way to be able to eat good. Now, I mean, I like to drink coconut milk, almond milk when I have it, honey peanut butter and such. So
Yeah, I mean, and that'll be the good part about the first part of this is for 9 months, it'll be, I won't be hungry, that's for sure. We're looking at right now, I'm at a weight of 245. According to the coach that I have, we're going to be pushing a little over 500 grams of protein a day, just protein. So, that's, what's that, 500 times 4 per gram of protein, 2,000 calories just in protein a day. And then probably 50% of that more in carbs and 15% of that in fat. So
bro, you're gonna be a lethal weapon, dude. You might want to keep that thing pointed in the same direction.
yeah, right. Exactly. Might have to have a pressure relief valve that I can control somewhere.
Seriously, dude. It's funny too, man, because to be quite honest with you, you are throughout my time, because when I was younger, acting and modeling and doing that thing, and when I was personal training and working for a nutritionist, obviously I was up in the gym and all that stuff. And I used to not like myself when I look back at how much of a tool I was, flexing all the time and taking selfies, man. And I don't know, dude, not really about that life anymore. But moral of the whole thing is all the people, male and female, that I've met throughout the gym, throughout the years, you are the most chill, down to earth one without an ego. And people can have egos in every sort of division of life. It doesn't matter if you have to be in the gym or not. But back to what you were saying about like changing attitudes and stuff, dude, all those guys that for the most part that I met at the gyms would go up in there and just think that they're casting for like Jersey Shore or something, dude. And you could just literally see their aspect of just being a dink, man, whether it was the pre-workouts that they were taking or just their egos in general. And yeah, I never really tended, I don't have a lot of guy friends in general, bro, just because dudes tend to be super arrogant, meaning they always want to fall back on these little disses of, using slurs towards women or, gay people and such to try to demoralize you because of your hair color or such. And I don't know, man. So I just don't buy into any of that, man. And that's just why I don't usually interact with a lot of dudes, because they are just super arrogant. You know, I mean, what kind of mind frame do you have when you have to call somebody a derogatory term for a woman? Does that make you feel like more masculine? And I feel like most of those dudes that I've ever met throughout that always are straight up boners, kind of like that, man. I mean, simple brain cells, it seems like, total bros, total ignorance. And I used to watch that stuff change, man, because some of them could have been okay at the beginning, and then they start just like busting themselves up with supplements, man, and pre-workout all the time. And then, yeah, now you're working out, building up your testosterone. So, yeah, it all ties into what you're saying. It 1000% changes. I mean, in a person, dude, the more you're pumping into somebody, I mean, again, anyone can be a dink from anything. You could have a person such as my size, man, that plays in a band that doesn't take any sort of supplements or things that could be egotistical and a dink. But then if you were to amplify that and give them supplements and things, it's going to 100% amplify that. Prime example, man. I'm a huge hockey guy, okay? So, but I still watch football. Honestly, dude, because I'm a big advocate for people being good people. If I'm going to support you, you know, whether it's buying your jersey, dude, or just like if I'm going to talk about you in a high mannerism, whatever, besides Ultimate Fighting and boxers and such, which these are fighters, so yeah, I guess we expect them for the most part to be scummers. Football players, dude, are the biggest dirt bags, man. And again, what are they all juiced up on all the time? These crazy supplements, always going crazy with these hormones and stuff. And then you just see some of the things they're doing outside of football, which means like maybe on the field, yeah, I guess, you know, the Cowboys could be employing you to be a savage and just destroying people. But once you go home, man, why are you still breaking things and like beating on your wife and kids and stuff and like driving erratically down the road, trying to assault police officers? Like, is that because of all the stuff they're pumping you full of, dude, or are you just a schmuck like that?
In my experience, uh, those supplements enhance who you are.
Mm-hmm.
If you're laid back, you'll be sometimes even more laid back.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a real wanker, then you'll be an even bigger wanker. You know, it's it's almost without fail. The only one that is different, that really can mess even with the best person in the world. We'll just call. Well, they're using it on TikTok now, which I mean, with the way TikTok is and this whole supplement issue,
Mm-hmm.
will mess you up. That stuff is the only one that crosses the blood-brain barrier. And now they're linking it to Alzheimer's, they're linking it to dementia. That's the one that people will normally blow a gasket over road rage and stuff like that. The rest of it is, like I said, pretty much just a personality enhancement. Because I know, I used to work for a pro bodybuilder, and he was the most chilled, relaxed guy, and that was who kind of taught me this. Like, there's always somebody bigger, badder, better. Be a good person. Doesn't matter what you look like. You're not going to look like that forever. This moment is momentary. You want people to remember you for being a good person, not because you were a wanker when you were built and then a stinker when you were old and just talked about how you were in your prime.
Preach, bro. Whether you're a tree in the forest or you have a seat at the round table, or hey, man, sure, you might not be right at home plate, make a baseball reference, even though I'm a hockey guy. But hey, man, if you're in the outfield, dude, you're still part of that game, man. So, yeah, I can totally relate to all that, which is a big reason why I tried to change myself. And also, again, I don't drink or and such. I haven't had a drink in like 8 years now. But either way, I used to say that with alcohol, man. When people would get drunk, and whether it was a girlfriend of mine, a friend of mine, or a buddy of mine that cheated on his girlfriend, whatever, dude, doesn't matter. They would, I would always just chuckle to myself and be like, well, that's the truth coming out. And they would be like, what do you mean? And I'd just be like, I don't know, dude. It's like the barrier is dropped and the person you really are comes out, man. So yeah, that's why people would cheat usually when they're drunk. They'd be like, "Oh, well, I was drunk," and it's like, no, it's just because deep down, subliminally, that's what you wanted to do, and you just dropped the barrier. So
Yeah, we believe exactly the same thing. When people try to use that excuse, I said that because I was drunk. It's like, no, you said that because the filter was off.
Yes, you turn the filter. Exactly, dude. And that's why
That,
you said it.
that's I always considered getting drunk being the truth serum.
Yes.
So
It really is, my dude, because yeah, and I mean, growing up, rest in peace, mom, with my mom being like a hardcore alcoholic, dude, she would just go ballistic and do ballistic crazy things. And then the next day, she'd wonder why the household didn't want to talk to her. And this was before we all had cell phones that we could record on. So unless we had a, huge cam recorder carrying it around the house, we couldn't really, she just show her that, but we could show her things she did, like busting up the house and stuff. And she wouldn't even like really remember it. And it's like, yo, dude, yeah, of course. That I mean, same thing. Like, so she'd get ticked off at me because I was not necessarily applying myself the best in high school. I graduated and stuff, and I could have done much better. Put it this way: if I could reverse things, which I don't care about reversing the past, it's building off yourself. But just because I'm making this comparison, I would have been way more into the books than I was sports and stuff, and I wouldn't have definitely been such a twerp. But either way, she would be getting out of work like super late and actually super early in the mornings because they would close down in the old port. I don't know, man. The bar is probably like 11, maybe 12-ish, depending on the night, 1 o'clock, whatever, dude. So, but this was the school night. So, yeah, probably around 11 o'clock. So they would clean up the bar and such. And then she'd give me a call at like, dude, 2:30 in the morning or so, and want me to drive from this. I lived in Westbrook, so to the old port, it's about a good half hour. And keep in mind, man, the next morning I'm supposed to be at school, and when I'm late to school, dude, and she gets a call from the principal. I used to always tell the principal, I'm like, look, man, you're gonna get me like destroyed later. And she's like, no, this is just letting your mom know you're late again. I'm like, yeah, but you don't know my mom, dude. Like, if you wake her up right now and tell her that I was late, like, yo, bad things are gonna happen later. Doesn't care. Just wakes my mom up. And she's like, yeah, see, she didn't sound that pissed. I'm like, yeah, all right, well, hopefully I show up for school tomorrow. So that when you go home, she could just go absolutely ballistic. But either way, I'd pick her up, dude, at the bar, and she would just be like straight up drunk, going berserk, man. Just like slamming my car door, trying to smoke cigarettes in there. I'm like, yo, dude, you don't smoke in my car. Turning down my music and like just being an absolute beast. But moral of the whole thing is she changed towards the end, but at that point in time, that's really who she was, though. She was super angry and stuff, obviously. And yeah, man, it's just like the truth serum, dude. It just literally brings out the worst version of the worst side of yourself, dude.
I totally agree. That's the truth. My dad was they called him a functioning alcoholic. And I mean, he'd go through, 2/5 a day, but he, never missed a day of work, never mean to me or my sister. And when he finally did decide to get sober, the last 17 years of his life, he went through inpatient, and they said, well, just, be ready because, he's probably, what do they call it? Wet brain.
Yes, that's what happened to my mom. Yep.
And, he's not going to remember a bunch of stuff. Bull crap. That guy remembered everything I did from the time I was born until the time he passed away and reminded of it weekly.
Yeah, it's funny you said that as well too, because my mom, I mean, she would definitely repeat herself and things, but yeah, she'd always remember these things, and yeah, it was definitely super funny. But no, moral of all that stuff is just like you said. So whether it's supplements or a substance such as alcohol, those truths come out, but also, yeah, it is, and it's going to change the whole dynamic of your body as well, though too. So like you were saying, though, if you're lifting a ton and changing your hormones, yeah, you're obviously gonna, smell different and act different, which could totally be good or bad, I guess. I mean, I don't know if maybe that individual happened to have a hair across his ass or her ass for the day and, well, decides that when this cryptid steps out, yeah, sure, it's 6 to 8 feet tall, but hey, man, it only looks like 125, 150 pounds. Whatever, I'm pushing like 250. I'm feeling like a dink today. All right, I got this baseball bat with me. Hmm, let's do this. I don't know. I mean, could that occur? Because it does seem like people that are amped up have less of a filter for confrontation. I mean, I've seen it in historical stuff for war where people just say, someone just is like, you know what, screw this, and I'm going for it. They're like, yeah, don't do that. And yeah, you probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I think it definitely can happen. Will that happen with me? No, I don't have. I've pushed things in the past. Let's leave it at that a little bit, and never had an issue with that. So that's definitely a fight I am never going to win. I have never considered myself, no matter how big I was, whether I was 292 benching 365 for reps or whatever, a big guy. Because what I saw when I was 16, that was well over 8 foot, well over 700 to 800 pounds of just muscle, humbled me right then until this day.
Can only imagine, man. I mean, before we tie this up, so nerd out here, you're not gonna pull a Vegeta and go Super Saiyan, huh? You're not gonna.
No, we're not going to be doing any of that. I'm 54. That's all that is in consideration. That's why blood work will be monthly to make sure things stay within good. There's no red flags. If there's a red flag, then something will have to change.
No, for sure. And on a final note, I mean, unfortunately for this baboon, I just happened to be watching Baboon Behavior a while ago, and he looked like a pretty big dude. Obviously, was the head of his little squad and just strolling around. Well, guess what? He got a little too close to that water and got snapped up real quick by this crocodile. And yeah, so obviously he basically had his britches too big for himself, more or less, I guess. So yeah, it can occur even in the animal kingdom with the overconfidence, which is no different than some of the stuff occurring for sure, man. So
Yeah, that's what I worry about the nighttime. If I walk out there a little too cocky, feeling a little too good about myself, not arrogant, but confident, like, okay, let's see what happens tonight. And maybe Daryl doesn't have exactly the same attitude that he wants to play tonight. No. It's like, okay, you're going to go home and you're going to go home one way or another, whether it's on your 2 feet or on your back, that's going to be up to you. So
straight up, my man. Great stuff. Well, thanks again for popping in tonight and hanging out with us and allotting some of your time. And make sure to definitely keep me posted as how to that all unfolds. And I mean, we get you on here weekly, so it will definitely be something that continues to be unfolding. So good stuff, man.
well, thank you for having me. I love being part of the team.
Again, I do hope everyone enjoyed this episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. Yes, this is the home and the stomping ground of the Midnight Society. And if you do enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, comment, share it, and feed the algorithm. And I will see you very soon.